The sea is always right.
The sea is always right.
No, I can't wait till War of the Rohirrim comes out. I think that's going to be the next good piece of Tolkien. I mean, of course, we can't wait till Rings comes out so we can ream it.
God.
But come on, it's like I've had so many people ask me. They're like, I mean, you get the trolls, and they're like, "You take pleasure." And I said, "Do I take pleasure?" I said, "No, I want to be praising this. I waited for something like this my whole life." It's like you wait for it, and then it gets here, and like it's worse than what I thought.
It was the thing where they showed us the best they had in that teaser trailer, and the best was bad. Yep. So it's
I had a family member that actually liked Rings.
I
handed them the Silmarillion, and I said, "Look, read this and talk to me. Talk to me next time. Read this. Read the Silmarillion." They never have. They did, and they were like, "They got so much wrong." And I said, "Yeah, they got so much wrong."
They did. I should have done that. It was a friend of my sister's. It's kind of like this family friend of all of us, but she's like, I watch your Rings videos, George, but I don't understand. I really am having a good time on this. And I told my sister, why do you keep having retarded friends? and she looked at it, and the lady was right there. She's like, did you just say that in front of me? I'm like, well, you lost all my respect. I don't understand. I said, what did you like? So just put it was a nice fantasy. I said, okay, forget Tolkien. What is it about fantasy that you liked about it? What was fantasy? Okay, what does that mean? And they're like, well, it's got some. And so I had to drill down. So when we got that, I just asked her questions. She goes, well, I don't know anything about Tolkien, and I enjoyed it. Okay, as a show, what did you like? Well, I like the way they look. I said, oh, hold on. Let's bring this up. You mean the armor? She goes, yeah, what's wrong with that? Yeah, I mean the T-shirt?
It's a style. It's a style, you know?
I'm like, she's like, I didn't know that. So I'm like, okay. Let's go through this. And so I was like, by the end of it, she's like, well, now I can't enjoy it. I'm like, you're supposed to think a little bit. And we're not supposed to think. We're supposed to have suspension of disbelief and then relax and go into another world. She goes, well, that's what I was doing before you told me.
Well, got you there.
And no, but I told her in that way. You're right. But see,
I see what happened here.
What?
You made the mistake of talking to a normie woman. First and foremost. That was your mistake. See, there's a difference, and I'm sure the women in the chat will understand. Some women are just not born with that gene, where they understand nerd stuff. Okay, and many of those lovely women that do have said gene are in our chat right now.
Well, but I explained.
You made the mistake of talking to a normie woman.
She is the normie, but
that's the mistake.
But see, I want to get the point across to her, and so this lasted like 3 hours, and she was patient. So I said, because I was like, I'm not losing. I said, I'm going to get my point across one way or the other. I was going to find one way because I wanted her to understand it, and she was like, okay, let's just keep going. So I said, are there things in the world you don't like that are going on right now? She goes, yeah, absolutely. I said, cool. Tell me what they are. She shared a few of them. I said, how do you think it got that way? And she's like, well, I didn't think about that. I said, it got that way because people don't use their fucking brain because they just want to detach. She's like, oh, Mike, are you getting the connection? See, I said, when you poison the culture, they poison you. They blind your eyes. You don't see anything that's going on. And all of a sudden, you end up with rings of fucking power and people in politics that you can't stand. She's like, so I walked her through the connections. In the end of it, she's like, I'm not talking movies with you anymore.
I don't even get that, man. It's like, I just want to detach. I just want to detach and escape my life and watch it. Why do you have to poke holes in everything? People say that a lot. It's like, how can you even detach and become ensconced in a world where like step 1 and step 2 can't possibly be related? Like this event can't possibly lead to
some people when they turn their brains off, they literally are talking like they can accept whatever kind of weird nonsense we used to get in cartoons as a kid. You know,
I guess, yeah.
You know, the nonchalant Deus Ex Machina bullshit. But like at some point, some people, especially those who take this shit seriously, you know, like George, who this is not just fantasy and entertainment for them, it's a big part of his life. And, you know, me as a fan too, it bothers me. You know, I want somebody who's going to, you can do both, right? You can make something that's entertaining and also true to the source material. And that's what Two Towers is a great example of, right?
Exactly.
It's both entertaining and true to the source material.
Magic just nailed it. Magic just nailed it. That was it. That was the other one.
Yes, I understand nerd stuff. My head explodes when people defend or people
she has the
defend Rings of Power.
Well, there's also an element of Peter Jackson did change things. Peter Jackson did add things, and him adding the elves at Helm's Deep. That is something that I always thought should have happened, and he made it happen. That is a way to change something fundamental that Tolkien wrote without offending everybody in the world, because you wanted it. The Last Alliance. This is the standing of the Last Alliance, and people got excited and they loved it. And still, it's like, how can you not understand something as simple as, sure, you can add to this universe. Sure, you can create something that didn't happen, but you have to do it with the respect and love of the franchise. You can't just go, you know what? We don't want to offend anybody, so we're gonna make Gandalf a dribbling idiot in Rings of Power. We're gonna make the hobbits little fairies with the sticks in their hair, and we're gonna have this, and we're gonna have
psychopaths.
Psychopaths, yes. I call them like Charles Manson family. I mean, come on. Well, I mean, their words was like, we all love each other, we help each other, we hang around. You fucker. You get the hell out of here. We'll remember you later. You're too slow. I'm like,
Tom got eaten by wolves. Everybody remember that? We're the most caring, loving people on Middle Earth, y'all.
It was crazy. And then I was like, okay. It was actually part of that conversation. She's like, you just don't like that it was diverse. I said, no, I don't like that. No, and I said, I don't like it. But I said, I don't like that it's diverse, but not for the reason you think. And she's like, well, why don't you like it? I said, again, let's remove the books. Just use a little bit of our brain. It has nothing to do with Tolkien, just as a fantasy show. Because she pulled that line, you know, like, if you can accept dragons, how come you? I said, no, let's use that. I said, it's okay. I said, we'll use your logic. Is this taking place in some type of Middle Ages period, would you say? She's like, yeah, okay. I said, cool. So explain to me where the fucking Jets came from. She's like, what? I said, how do you get Samoans, Chinese, Africans, all in a village that migrates somewhere in the UK? I said, forget land masses then. She's like, well, I said, you understand that people didn't travel more than 5 to 10 miles in the Middle Ages from their home.
You know, there's not really dragons too, though, George.
Right. But my point was, we got to this. Yeah, you're right. But we got to this, and I said, it breaks continuity. And you can tell because of the way it's written. I said, which character? And that's how we ended up in the end still talking. I said, tell me one character, a line that you remembered. One of them that bonded, that you go, I could see that. She's like, well, Galadriel. I said, cool, say Galadriel. Say a line from Galadriel. She's like, I said, now say a line from Lord of the Rings. She was starting. I said, see, right there. Didn't have to explain to you. You remember it. You remember stuff from Star Wars. You remember stuff from Ghostbusters. But you can't remember a single character line except for Galadriel out of Rings of Power. And anyway, so I was like, wow.
Yeah, this is someone else's line, but imagine how confusing it would have been in the Middle Ages to invade another country if everyone looked like they think they looked.
No,
right? Like,
very good. I mean, and it wasn't even. I said, let's. It's like, think about even just, again, it's fantasy. Just a few. You have to have fantasy. Has to have some touchstone, a little bit of grounding in reality, just to sell you on it. I said, how did they get all those damn horses and armor on these little boats?
Oh my god!
She's like, oh, you're being a geek now. I said, no, it's just how.
3 boats.
She goes, it's magic. Okay. I'll give you that one. I said, how did they all survive a fucking volcano? Did you see like Galadriel like wave her hand? She's like, I don't know. Well, I said, see, that throws someone out of the movie, and we used to call this shit.
Yes.
And we'd make fun of it, but now you're like
Classical
saying
term.
it's great. Yeah. So